Everybody knows Crash Bandicoot. The Crash Bandicoot series has been widely known since its inception in the late 90s, with the orange marsupial protagonist becoming the mascot of the PlayStation brand. This beloved platformer series became highly successful due to its trademark gameplay. With the first game, the goal was simple: walk, jump, and spin your way to the very end of the level while avoiding enemies and obstacles along your path. Later on in the series, more features were added, such as the ability to slide, crouch, double jump, and even fire a bazooka. But it was the simplicity of the first Crash Bandicoot game that started it all. With all of the success that Naughty Dog received from the Crash Bandicoot tetralogy, plenty of other companies decided to capitalize on the simplistic gameplay for an easy cash grab. I will admit, some of these games were actually quite good and even innovative, but there's one game in particular that stands out in my mind that's so beautifully awful that I couldn't stop myself from talking about it. And that game is M&M Shell Shocked is a 3D PlayStation platformer developed by Boston Animation and published by Simon & Schuster Interactive, or Jowood Productions in Europe. If you haven't heard of any of these companies, well, don't feel too bad because neither have I. This game has everything you'd expect from your standard Crash Bandicoot game. It has walking, jumping, spinning, boss fights, and cutscenes. What makes this game really stand out is just how terribly executed everything is. Now let's see what this game is all about from the beginning to the end. Before I proceed, I need to preface this by letting you guys know that M&M Shell Shocked is actually a re-release of the 1999 game M&M's The Lost Formulas, which was exclusive to PC. The Lost Formulas, while also being a Crash clone, contains fun and complicated math, such as
2 plus 0, 1 plus 3, 3 plus 3, 0 plus...
I think you get the point. I will only be talking about the PS1 re-release M&M Shell Shocked, as that game is far more entertaining. When booting up the game, you are greeted by the world's loudest logo intro ever for the developers of the game, Boston Animation. Then it suddenly cuts to a trademark and copyright screen for M&M's and the Mars Company, with the music here being much quieter than the Boston Animation intro we just heard. Not to mention, the load time here isn't the worst, but it's pretty bad. Finally, we're at the main menu. Maybe we'll get a good amount of accessibility options. Oh wait, looks like the only options are, well, options and play. Clicking on options gives you 2 volume sliders, one for the music and one for the sound effects. Yeah, I don't understand why this tab is called options and not audio, but I don't know what I expected from a PS1 game about a yellow peanut M&M. Clicking play on the title screen takes you to an ugly looking level select screen that looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. And what's that? I thought this game was a platformer. Why is there a picture of a street? Well, that's because the best way to introduce players to your platforming game is by having them drive a car for the first 3 levels. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. These are some of the funniest video game levels I've ever played. Now, before I get into the gameplay, let me explain some of the story. It's pretty basic. So, the yellow M&M, voiced by J.K. Simmons, and the red M&M, voiced by Billy West, are hanging out with each other and are talking about going on vacation. When we find out that yellow left the M&M minis, who are the equivalent of human toddlers, in charge of the chocolate factory. So then red and yellow now have to drive to the factory and put a stop to the minis' madness. Throughout the game, you can break boxes to collect minis, which work the same as Crash Bandicoot's Wumpa Fruit, and once you collect 100 of these, you earn an extra life. Breaking blue boxes gets you 100 minis right away, and some boxes come with certain power-ups, such as a helmet which lets you take damage and not die, speed shoes that let you run faster, and I mean much faster, like holy cow, look at this. And a spring power-up which lets you jump higher. Whenever you break boxes or spin enemies, you are greeted with a high-pitched, ear-piercing sound of a million children screaming in your ear. Fun stuff. The whole premise of these driving levels is to maneuver your way to the end while dodging obstacles. And by obstacles, I'm talking about all of these vehicles who are clearly in severe violation of every traffic law known to man. We have this yellow car crossing a solid line to go to the correct side of the road, and then it parks in the middle of the road for no reason. We have this blue car speeding on the wrong side of the road. We have this blue car that can't make it up the hill for some reason. We have this motorcyclist who can ram you from behind, and he kills himself on these nitro crates. I mean, danger crates. My bad, my bad. This black car makes a really sharp U-turn, completely turning around out of nowhere. And then there's this weird fork in the road with this red car that's parked. And there's a glitch that can occur where the collision box for this car desyncs from the level and can hit you even though you're nowhere near it.
But yeah, and Red's obviously always, you know, yelling at Yellow to get stuff done, and invisible wall, gotta love it. There we go, the first piece of jank.
The hitbox desync.
Oh,
what?
Oh,
wow.
If we said this game isn't jank, you're about to see some more jank here coming up.
Then we come across this intersection, and this motorcyclist is getting juggled around by 3 cars. You get to the end of the level, and it just fades to white. Okay. Next level, more driving. This is more or less the same, except now you're expected to be able to predict what's going to come around the corner a couple of feet away from you. This game is so meat. The next level is the last driving level. Or is it? This one is ramped up in stupidity, I mean difficulty. This time we have cows crossing the street and this gang of motorcyclists trying to actively kill you. Now it's finally time to start the game. I was starting to forget that this is a Crash Bandicoot ripoff. The next 3 levels are dubbed as Milk Chocolate. The minis have, quote,
messed with the milk chocolate,
and we have to stop them. In this level, we're presented with the basics. Crates, enemies, and some chocolate that looks pretty safe to walk on since, you know, we're made out of chocolate.
oops.
Yeah, don't expect this game to make any sense. The movement in this game already feels super jank at this point. The walking animation feels too bouncy, and jumping makes you do this really weird spin. Also, if you stop moving, Yellow just stands there with a stoned look on his face. The devs for this game didn't even bother putting in an idle animation, and they didn't even have him blink his eyes, giving you the impression that Yellow is stoned out of his goddamn mind. Also, don't bother getting all of the crates in these levels, because this game doesn't have any way to track how much of the game you've completed. In fact, I'd only recommend getting blue crates and dark brown crates just to avoid the sound of 5,000 children screaming into your ear. Right off the bat, we have some really dumb enemy movement patterns, like, what the hell are these guys doing? If you think this is crazy, just wait, because this is just the beginning. Bro, this robot is literally moonwalking like Michael Jackson. You can tell that the devs had a lot of fun making this game at the very least. Near the end of the second level, we see our first speed choose power up, and you can take it to the very end. It's actually quite satisfying to go fast and with so much momentum. Wait, did I just say that this game is fun? Oh no, please save me. Finally, for the third part of each level, there's usually some sort of boss fight. For this fight, you'd probably want to jump on these yellow platforms and not the ones covered in chocolate, because the game teaches you earlier that stepping on chocolate is bad. But no, the game can't make up its mind apparently, and you're supposed to step on these chocolate covered platforms to make chocolate drip from the ceiling onto this robot looking thing. Whatever this thing is, I don't know, you tell me. Also, the health bar for this boss is red at the beginning, and you're supposed to make it green, which is completely the opposite of what I learned while playing Kingdom Hearts 2 growing up. But hey, if you hate this boss like I do, fortunately you can stand on the edge of this platform and just jump to the end. Incredible. The next section of this game is called
Oh shoot.
No, seriously, that's the name of the section. The reason for the name, besides the crappy pun, is that there are crates on this conveyor belt getting sent down some chutes to be shipped off to wherever it is they're going. Let me tell you that these levels suck. I know, shocker. First off, these conveyor belts are usually moving backwards against your forward movement, which slows you down a lot. You can avoid this slowdown by jumping off at the very edge, but be careful not to fall off, or touch this part of the floor. There's also some extremely rude jump scares every now and then. For instance, this giant robot thingy coming out of nowhere to drop a crate right into your face. Or this purple robot dude who jumps at you, followed by his breakdancing friend. Man, these animations are so funny. Later on in Zone A of Oh Shoot, there's this really dumb section where the floor is lava, except there's no indication anywhere to let you know that the floor is dangerous. I guess now's a good time to talk about the bonus levels. In each level, there are 3 pieces of the M&M's logo that you can collect. And if you make it to the very end, the game will throw you over to a bonus level. These bonus levels are pretty much a waste of time or just a way to get extra lives. And since there's no way to track your progress in the game, it's completely pointless to go through any of the bonus levels. I do think it's funny though that at the end of the bonus levels, the game freezes and you just have to sit there and wait for all of the extra lives to tally up, while listening to the horrible sound effect. The next boss fight is our first chase level, obviously taking inspiration from Crash Bandicoot's boulder levels, except you can damage the thing that's chasing you. Pretty interesting concept on paper, but unfortunately, this boss is extremely easy, as in you can beat this boss in less than 10 seconds if you're somewhat competent at the game. And if you go to the end of the level and spin these crates like any normal player would, the floor collision can just despawn and let you fall through it. Moving right along, we have our next group of levels, Candy Colors. The gimmick of these levels is that there's paint getting shot out at you from a bunch of different areas, including these guns and also these paint buckets on the ceiling. Honestly, these levels are not too bad and are just a test of patience. It's pretty easy to dodge all of the paint if you're patient enough to wait on the cycles. There are these tough paint sections where the paint is dripping from the ceiling, but you can completely cheese these sections by walking on the very edge of the platform. The enemies here are also pretty timid, and you should enjoy that while it lasts. The boss fight here goes around these platforms on a set cycle, and your job is to make paint drip onto the boss from the ceiling. Hey, that looks awfully familiar. Now, suppose you want to skip this boss just like the first boss. You might be thinking, how can I beat this level if this door doesn't open unless you beat the boss? Well, worry not, kiddos. If you jump against the wall here from a precise spot at a very precise angle, you can launch yellow over the wall and completely skip out on having to fight the boss. Man, they really did not test this game at all. Next up, we have Stampin' and Sortin'. And these cutscenes feature the oh so sexy green M&M. Please step on me. The gimmick of these levels is, it doesn't really have a gimmick. These are just a bunch of regular, mostly side-scrolling levels, with the second one being too long for its own good. Nothing really special to talk about here, except the stupid glitch where if you spin and jump in a way that, you know, a normal player would, you just fall through the floor and die for some reason. Great game. The last zone of this level is another chase level, except this is a side-scrolling chase level. I'll give the game credit where it's due. This level isn't that bad. This style of chase level is really unique compared to the Crash Bandicoot style level we saw earlier. The next level is called Pack It In, and this is where the game really ramps up in difficulty. There's a lot of enemies, more explosives, more moving platforms, more cycles, and more enemies moving into explosives to kill themselves and you with them. Yep, the wacky enemy movement patterns are finally back. Now, you'd expect the last zone of this level to be another boss fight, or maybe another chase level, right? Well, it's a color matching minigame. The goal here is literally to see what's in front of you and stand on the corresponding button. This is by far the easiest level in the game, but if that wasn't bad enough, there's a glitch that can happen where the camera guy just quits his day job forever. Hello? What? By the way, this is a hard crash, and you'll have to restart your console if this happens to you. I hope you saved your game before doing this level. Level 7 is where this game gets good, and I mean good, because we have another driving level. This time, instead of driving a dumb car, we're in a tractor, baby. Man, this music is incredible. The soundtrack for this game is definitely where most of the budget for this game went. Well, you know, besides the CGI cutscenes. And composer Eugene Zukov definitely did an amazing job making the music fit so well into the game. Anyhow, the start of Pack It In is relatively mild, but there is this really funny enemy that kicks a bonus level crate right into your face. It's in the second part of this level where things get super chaotic. You're forced to constantly swerve from left to right to dodge nitros and concrete blocks. And then we see these group of 3 enemies coming at you, seemingly about to hit you and make your life miserable, and then they jump out of your way. Okay then. After swerving around some more enemies, you have to approach this door to open it, but right behind the door is a nitro crate just sitting there waiting for you to crash into it. A surprising game design philosophy, but a welcome one. Wait, scratch that. Also, this bonus level sticker placement here is so evil, bro. Enter the third part of this level. Now you're chasing this machine that's spitting out a bunch of crates, while most crates are falling from the left and right sides of this track. It's a bit chaotic, but all of these crates are reactable and can be dodged with enough skill. However, if you have too much skill and don't get hit at all, you actually end up being too close to the machine in front of you, and it makes things actually unreactable. It's like the people who tested this game before it was released never came across this issue because they weren't good enough at the game to even encounter this simple bug. At the end of the level, the crate machine ends up crashing into a very conveniently placed wall of nitros. Neat. After beating this level, we get to hear my favorite line in the whole game that pretty much sums up how I feel about this whole game.
Gentlemen, it's been an education.
Please step on me. Finally, we are greeted with our final series of levels called The Shocking Truth.
I can't say I'm shocked.
Haha, very funny, bro. This level is by far the hardest level in the entire game. There are way more moving cycles, super jank enemies, and the worst thing of all, a billion electricity cycles that you have to patiently wait for. Lastly, we have our final boss of the game. Now, normally in video games, we have a very epic battle for the final boss fight, and that's how anyone would expect it to be, even in a game like this. However, this game is all about subverting expectations. This boss is so stupidly easy that you can beat it in about 10 seconds or less. And that's M&M Shell-Shocked. Red and Yellow end up saving the factory from their own irresponsible actions and go on a cruise ship vacation, and they all live happily ever after. At the end of the day, this silly game will always have a special place in my heart, and I will remember it fondly for all of the traumatizing and funny moments that this game provided to me. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.